Hello and welcome. Live from Tehran, you've tuned to Press TV's World News. Thanks so much for being with us. First story this hour takes us to Yemen, where Saudi Arabia keeps violating a newly brokered UN humanitarian truce. Warplanes have conducted 2 airstrikes on Sahar district in Sa'ada province. They also bombed targets in the capital Sa'ada and a residential complex in the city of Taizz. Casualties are feared from the airstrikes. Earlier in overnight bombardments, 1 person was killed in the city of Abs. There were also air raids on Hajj, Aden, and Lahij provinces. Also, 2 people were killed as Saudi fighter jets attacked a convoy of humanitarian aid from Germany in Sa'ada province. Crossing over to Belfast, I'd like to welcome Mr. Saeb Sha'ath, author and Middle East expert, for joining us. Thanks so much for being with us. Mr. Sha'ath, we are in now it's way over 100 days. More than 4,000 people have been killed in Yemen, and there's this silence from much of the international community as every day more and more civilians are being killed. What is the key here? What is it going to take in order to stop the Saudi aggression on Yemen?
Good question. To start with, the Saudis, they are part of what we call the international community, because since the international community term here, it means United States of America, it means Britain, and it means France. These are the 3 permanent members of the United Council. It doesn't mean Russia, it doesn't mean China. And Saudi Arabia is part of this imperialist United States gang. And anywhere in the Western media, you'll find the blackout over the war in Yemen. Exactly the treatment of Saudi Arabia as the treatment of Israel in the Western mainstream media, since they are the Saudis achieving the same goals for the West as Israel over Palestine. That's why we wouldn't see the anti-even war movement actively engaged in Britain or in the United States of America condemning this such of war. Since the anti-war movement, I believe it's a kind of a make-up mechanism for the Western regimes by some liberalists or leftists who would love to show democracy within their framework of imperialism. But actually, that's where the Saudis can find the protection. And if we look at this ceasefire, which is a humanitarian, it was called on before as well. The last one, the Saudis didn't adhere, and there was, during the last one, over 200 sources the Saudis dropped and attacked so many targets in Yemen, and they used this kind of ceasefire, making the people of Yemen believe there is really ceasefire, and the Saudis start attacking undercover as they've been provoked by the revolutionaries. This ceasefire was declared by the Saudis themselves, not even by Abd Rabbu Mansour Hadi, which is supposed to be the president who's calling the shots in here. Just Saudi Arabia showing they are the ones who is actually calling the shots in here. They are the ones who are deciding peace and war over Yemen, and who control the destiny of Yemen. The war in here, it's pathetic act of United Nations when trying not to really call the spade is a spade, and calling what is the Saudis committing from criminal.
What is the cue, Mr. Sha'ath? What's the key, Mr. Sha'ath, then, if the situation, according to what you're saying, basically, the so-called international community is in cahoots together, and Saudi Arabia is part of that, so justice for the Yemeni people is not going to come from that entity, or as you were talking about, from the United Nations. So what is the key? What is it going to take in order for the people of Yemen to be freed from this type of repression at the hands of the Saudis?
The key is resistance in here, not for the Yemeni people to wait on the international community, since we said who is the international community. The key is Saudi Arabia itself fighting its own security and stability now is being endangered, especially in the southern parts of Jizan, Najran, Asir, since the campaign of now intensified. We are now in 108 days of this war of aggression on Yemen. And there was key words in yesterday's speech by al-Houthi, the leader, Abdul Malik al-Houthi, when he said for 40 days they didn't reply, and they started after that escalating their reaction. And he threatened with a strategic reaction and replies for the Saudis. We expect they're going to use maybe Scud missiles, strategic Scud missiles to target areas within the heart of Riyadh and areas as north in Saudi Arabia. And now from there we can see the shift. From there we can see the Saudis want to save their skin. They were actually panicking 2 weeks ago, and they were sending signals to Russia through the visit of Prince Mohammed bin Salman. They asked him to settle things in there, and they can find a compromise with the Russians over even Syria to settle the issue in Yemen.
Okay.
Saudi Arabia doesn't want to get out of that without a mechanism to show it's victorious.
All right, Mr. Sha'ath, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but we're out of time. I appreciate you being with us. Out of Belfast, Saeb Sha'ath, author and a Middle East expert. Meanwhile,